I'd like to open the October 21st Conservation Commission meeting at 7:30. And there's, looks like we got two sets of minutes to approve, the September 23rd and the October 7th. We'll do the 23rd first. Does anybody got any omissions or corrections?
Actually, I got a bunch with this one. I don't think I can. First page was really editorial. The second page, continued public hearing, 9 Air Road. A bunch of changes in the first paragraph. Change the 50-foot waiver to a 50-foot no-build buffer area is completely contained. The sentences after that needed to be reworked. So I changed it to work within the 50-foot no disturb area NDA includes installation of the aprons for the driveways and grading work where the pavement of the road and aprons transitions to the swales. They are trying to minimize the work within the 50-foot NDA. Access to the work area also will involve some disturbance of the NDA. That's what I changed it to. I don't know what it was. But the paragraph right after that, they have snow storage in the middle. After saving some of the existing trees, they introduced snow storage, but then they changed back to monitoring wells. So I put all the snow storage stuff in the one place, just with moving that sentence.
Yeah, she pretty much just does it the way it happened, which is a lot of circular discussion.
Yeah, that's true. It probably did happen that way. And then the paragraph after that, I just had the second sentence state, Mr. Roy said that the swales will infiltrate all the runoff from the site, period.
In non-winter conditions was the...
In non-winter conditions?
Right, because it's not, if it's frozen, it's not going to infiltrate.
And let's say it's some deep kit.
I don't think they do, though.
I know, but at that would...
Right, but on that particular one, they don't.
Because that's something you should require halfway down the hill.
Oh, I think it's just going to keep going.
And the last sentence in that paragraph I changed to, Mr. Wells will let the commission know his plans for preserving trees and revegetating, period. The current plan involves grubbing the whole site, including removing 30 trees, then planting grass, period.
We talked about which type of grass, which we were still on the fence about. I had a note about that.
Yeah, but this is, all right, this is
the 23rd. This
Oh,
is
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, sorry. Yep.
That is in the.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, the next one
Yeah, the
said
next one,
meadow.
yeah, so whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, the mix.
Okay. Yep.
So some of this would get corrected in, I think, probably in the next set of minutes that we're about to approve.
What, I'm sorry?
I'm saying that some of it might get corrected in the next.
Yeah, that's true, maybe, yep. Okay, the next paragraph, I just crossed out the second sentence. Because I don't think it's needed, because the next sentence is that the work in the NDA will need a waiver. And the 195 Tattawan, no, nothing in that, sorry. Okay, so one that needs discussion is notice of intent 49 Manawanaki Trail. The middle of that paragraph, starting with the footage of the old patio is being swapped for the footage of the new house. The stone walls, and I put and stairway will be replaced in kind. Is that a correct correction of that? Because you say the stone walls will be replaced in kind and the stairway will be replaced with the same kind of stairway. I just said both of them will be replaced in kind. Is that correct? interpretation of what that was?
I wasn't here, so this is her
Oh, okay.
stuff, which I fixed up a little bit, but not a lot. So, but yeah, that sounds like it makes sense to me.
Okay. The other, I did make some corrections, but they're just editorial really, because she tends to use the waiver area to describe 50-foot and not describe it as the NDA, so I just corrected it as the NDA
Yeah.
Mhm.
instead of the waiver area.
Right.
Okay, notice of intent, 13 Chestnut Lane. I had trouble interpreting the second sentence of this. I changed it to the original order of conditions had expired, but he was not aware that an extension had not been granted. Instead of the expiration
The
date.
extension didn't change the expiration date, I think was the extension was, oh, right. Well, it's not that it wasn't granted, he never even asked for it.
Oh, okay, so it says that the expiration date had not changed.
He thought that with, because I had a discussion with him, he thought that with the amendment, whatever it was,
Yeah.
that also changed the expiration date, but an amendment does not change the expiration date. So that's kind of part of the reason it fell into the hole.
Okay. Maybe mention that despite the amendment,
Yeah.
the expiration date had not
Yeah.
changed or something instead of what I put here. Okay. And I just added the word construction. I said for a combination of economic and health reasons, building this lot had changed it to begun. Building this lot had begun construction with grading, septic installation, and well installation, but was not completed.
Someplace now, I don't know whether it's in this one or the next one, we mentioned about having a site inspection, somebody going out and verifying that too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know whether it could be in this other section.
That was, the commission wants a site walk before they made a decision set for Thursday at 5:15. So
Yeah.
that was in September 23rd minutes.
The fourth sentence, because the old order had expired, they may have to submit a notice of intent instead of they are in with a new notice of intent.
Maybe it should be they need to.
No, that's why they were there. That's why they were there that night, is with a new notice of intent.
Because the old order had expired, they are submitting?
No, they submitted.
They submitted.
That's what you were
okay.
discussing that night, was the new notice of intent.
Okay, they submitted. A new notice of intent. Okay, that's it.
Anybody else get any
Yeah, I said a
corrections or omissions?
Yeah, correction on the 9-Air Road, there's a sentence here that they will place one monitoring well in the back and one in the front of the site. I believe the wells have already been installed, so maybe they have installed monitoring wells in the back and in the front.
Why would they be? I thought that'd be on town water.
The monitoring wells were strictly to observe the groundwater levels.
Yeah, we asked them that.
Yeah, I had some other photos.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
I just had one comment about the end regarding the stormwater, just to add Atlas 14 in there, because that's the most recent stormwater standard that we were talking about.
The Cornell data and Atlas 14, is that right? Yeah.
Atlas 14 is specifically what I was
Yep.
discussing.
So can I have, if there's no more additions, can I have a motion to accept the minutes for the September 23rd?
Move that we accept the minutes as amended.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now let's go to October 7th.
I just had small edits and
Anybody got any more any comments on the September 7th? Not September, October 7th.
I move that we accept the minutes as amended.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Super seconded.
It's not easy to say.
Super aided.
Okay, I believe the 7:45 meeting has been postponed.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so we can do the administrative discussions.
Can we, because that's moved to November 4th, there was a question of, are we doing 4 and 18 for the next meetings? At the bottom it says to be confirmed. Do we have?
November 4th and 18th, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, request for certificate of compliance, 22 Cricket Lane, 204-866.
As of the last meeting, we were supposed to be in touch with their realtor to do a site walk.
And she figures, the old owner figures, give it till the spring so it can grow again, because the commission seemed concerned about that, so.
Okay. Request for certificate of compliance, 32 Middlesex, 204-820.
You're on. This is the one where I went out to look and some additional work had been done. So we got it put onto the plan so you can take a look at it.
So, there's like 5 copies of the revised as-built plans, I guess, there.
You want to just open one and just kind of go through some of the changes?
Yep.
Whatever you want to do. These are all the same?
Yeah, they're all the same. Well, it's 2 pages, so page 2 that actually has the... So when Amy went out there, she gave me a call, or got in touch with me afterwards and said, the decks weren't on the original plan, and there's a patio, a hot tub. So I think part of the confusion was the original plan was just a septic plan, that was approved, and they just show the foundation.
Do an overlay of what was approved and what was built, or can you walk us through that? Or if you want to color something?
I'm sorry.
No?
So the existing foundation is the approved foundation there. And so there's a covered deck here, a porch basically, an open deck here, the patio, ground level patio here, and this little dark square here is where the hot tub is. So that,
All of this here, or?
well, no, this is the septic tank.
Okay.
Okay. And then just over here is where the hot tub is.
Oh, no, that's like
Basically, yes, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Read my mind.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Actually, I'll let you do that.
Okay. So, this is the deck. And this is a deck. And then this portion here is a patio. So this, I guess everything I've going over here in yellow wasn't shown on the original plan. It was just the foundation that was shown. And my bad, I guess, but frankly, I just never gave any of this really a second thought. I mean, the patio, I kind of just assumed was like landscaping. The decks were always part of the plan of the house.
Do you
The
wanna
hot tub
highlight
is
where your
basically a
50 foot
freestanding.
is? Do you want to highlight your wetlands lines on the maps?
So the
I see the
actual
100, I don't see the 50.
delineated wetlands
Sure.
is over here.
Follow that.
This is the wetland line?
Yeah, I see the 100. So 50 is, looks like that.
I don't know if there's a 50, there's a 100, which is over here.
Yeah, that could be it, that makes sense.
Okay.
scale, so that we can,
It's 1 inch to 20 feet.
so a couple inches off the side. So over here,
There you go.
Yeah,
highlight
Sorry,
the,
Carl.
highlight
Yeah.
the 50. That's
No,
it.
no,
But the
Well,
wetlands-
actually helps. You'd have to scale it out. It's not
Scale it
on
out.
there.
Oh,
Yeah, 'cause there's
yeah,
another,
the
that
wetlands
way,
are over
'cause
here.
there's another buffer down here.
But,
Oh, okay. So it looks like,
so there's a 40-foot
Outside.
line here that goes, I think
It's
that
confusing.
shows the septic system was supposed to be, well, where it
They can't
is,
put expansion in this.
40 feet, so 50,
For the regs?
it's gonna be in here someplace.
yeah.
So that's like the 15 inch area. It's 20 feet. So that's the.
But
I didn't see this, like, thing.
That's the 100 foot right there from.
Oh, that's the wetland, not the 100. Okay. I'm worried.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's-
most of the
that's-
lots within the
scale.
100 feet.
Okay.
So that's the one.
Okay.
Oh, the as-built.
What's presently done in through here, where's your vegetation? Is the whole septic system vegetated?
Yeah,
there's more colors if you want to have fun.
I'm trying.
yeah, when Amy was out there, I think she can tell you that the, you know, everything's grown in well.
Everything's stable,
Yeah,
yes.
I do have pictures, though.
When was the new bylaws?
These are the old ones that was
Oh,
there.
I think it was after that.
After.
That's what I was just
Yeah.
wondering, this is before the,
2020.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's quite. I think it's this. That's the true 40 around there. It's not.
If that's to 100.
I mean, it's close. Let's see,
Pretty
that's-
close, though.
It's close. So I mean, yeah, 50s.
So.
Split the difference
So it's like
between those two is 50, right? So.
I'm thinking.
And the shed was there?
There is
Shed
kind of
was
a line
there.
on there.
Well,
It looked like.
this shed was there,
Look at that.
and I got the green light from the building department to rebuild in the exact same spot, which it is. In fact, it's a little bit smaller.
Amy, when were the updated wetland bylaws were after this?
I think the first one.
Yeah, so we got
With
Oh,
the
the,
new
this went
ones?
through, they did the whole stormwater
Yeah, we have
analysis,
the-
so this was
Call
under
Yeah,
the
this was
new.
before my time.
Yeah.
It was under the new.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, it's shown on the plan there where it is.
Okay, that's the shed. So that's a redo.
So I wasn't sure where everything was when I went there and looked at it, where the 50-foot was. In the scheme of things, anything that's in a lawn that's in the 50 to 100, I get approved administratively. For decks and porches, it's one of those minor exempted, but it looked like stuff was happening in the inner 50. So I figure it's worth a discussion.
Yeah.
Well, right, because you're the balance between impervious now with the, like, hot tub and, that's the hot tub there, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so it's
that's a
just this stuff that
covered
got
deck.
in.
Yeah, it's really the
Yeah.
hot tub.
Yeah, so,
And what's this?
That's a septic.
No, this is shaded?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the first.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
and
that's
that's,
it.
okay, I
That's
get
the
it.
septic tank, yeah. So this would be, you know,
The
kind of a
covered
view of the
porch.
covered porch, and you can kind of get it over there, too.
Right.
So the hot
It
tub
would've
and part
gone
of
with
the
something
porch.
that you would've been able to infiltrate.
Part of the-
Patio.
Did you put any dry wells or anything in with the water coming off the covered deck now, or
Well,
additional
the
areas?
perimeter, including what's over the covered deck, I mean, it's like part of the house. It's all connected with gutters, and it goes to the Caltech structure that was,
So this gutter
Yeah.
runs and it eventually ends up there.
yeah. All, you know, basically, it's like a continuous gutter around the whole house with 4 downspouts that are connected to, you know, they all connect into the.
And that was on the original plan?
Yeah. That was like the first one, as you said, Amy. That was added, you know, as part of the approval.
Did you guys draw as to what falls within the 50 then? Because I
Yes.
estimated with the line.
Do you want the ruler and a pen?
Looks like the hot tub.
The hot
Yeah, it
tub,
looks like it's mainly the hot tub,
corner of
or maybe the corner of the patio.
Yeah, that's about what I had. The hot tub in the corner of that. Yep. That's what I estimated too. Okay.
What's the commission's thoughts? The only concern is that it's all grass. It's all.
I'm sorry, what's the patio made of?
it's like individual pavers, it's not a,
Yeah.
like a poured concrete.
Yeah.
How far does the grass go?
But no water, it's not meant for water to penetrate, so it's a tight porch. I mean, not porch, patio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like some of the deck is raised on that part. Over. Something like
Sorry.
Any chance the hot tub can be? No, it actually would be. Yeah, move down there, but that would be toward the road.
Yeah, and basically the entire site is in the 100-foot buffer zone.
Well, I'm talking about getting out of the 50, but. Or maybe if they swapped it over here, put it over here.
How close does the grass get to the wetland edge?
So, this dotted line here, which is,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it's basically, the bottom edge of the fill is where it's, the grass ends.
Oh, to level out the lot?
Hmm?
To level
Yeah,
out the
that's
lot.
what it blends into the existing grade, basically. It was there.
You could try and do like a revegetation, renaturalized of a section to find some balance.
You mean instead of moving the patio?
Right. Give them an option.
Was this a tear down and rebuild?
Tear down.
And how far did the yard extend before? Like, was it grass out back?
Yeah, it was grass out back. And the yard actually extended just about to where it is now. But of course, this septic system's higher, so there's a slope there.
I think you reduced the driveway a bit, right? You had to
the
cut the
old-
driveway.
Well, the driveway was actually on the other side, wasn't where it is now.
Yeah.
It was down towards, closer to the wetlands. The old driveway used to be over here.
Or close to the footprint of the...
I don't see where the driveway is on this.
Footprint
was pretty much.
Oh,
So-
paved drive.
This is,
right here?
the garage is right here.
Fill
That's-
material.
yeah.
Oh, the garage is
Probably-
shown.
It used to be, the driveway used to be over here. It didn't have a garage, the house had like just a big paved area.
Can I show that to Ann?
Yeah, so the garage is on this corner of the house, and basically the driveway just goes straight to the street from there.
Anna, that's what it was before. See the old shed?
Yeah, and that's over here. I saw where that was. Yeah. And then he said he rebuilt it right on top of it where it was. So was there any structure at all where you now have the hot tub and patio? There was
No,
structure
I don't
there.
even think the old deck extended over there.
But that's stone, it's stone under the hot tub,
Yeah, the
right?
hot tub's
And it's
stone.
stone under
Stone
this
under.
little raised bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there any option to swap at least just the hot tub location? Move it over out of the 50 and right next to the covered deck?
It would be on top of the patio, I guess, right next to the covered deck.
Well,
I think
mine-
at that point, we probably just remove it.
Right here, just move it to right here.
Well, see, if it is.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So it would just be swapping the,
One that we saw.
And-
Well, that,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a little,
Yeah, I don't know.
that's a good sign.
It would be, if,
Yeah, that one.
you know, this kind of slopes down now towards the shed where it blends into the old existing grade, so it probably would require fill to build it up and put it there.
I don't know, I just feel like there should be some consequence for building in the no disturb area.
Anna, what are your thoughts about renaturalizing a different part of that in lieu of movement? To kind of take some of the grass area and kind of let that come back?
Put a couple native bushes in or
Right.
something and a few herbaceous
Mhm.
right in a corner.
Right.
It would help with the slope going down the wetland the way it does.
Yep. To kind of take a section and just let it kind of
Instead of
come back.
pulling out what,
I think they should do both personally. Move the hot
I
tub
think
and
it's
naturalize.
gravel though, so it's gonna infiltrate in the hot tub. It's portable. I mean, we allow fences as a limited. I mean, I don't have a good understanding of
And it's
even how
hard
far.
because it's not really, I mean, we're guessing where the scale is.
Well, that's,
So
yeah,
I-
that's
I
my
think
other
that
issue is I
it
don't know
would-
that we have a good understanding of how
I think it would behoove you
much.
to kind of really get the 50, because we may be asking you to move something that potentially could be out of the 50.
Hmm. That's true.
And then kind of look at an area that if you are conclusive that it's in the 50, to kind of look at that and with Amy or commissioners, assistants, kind of look at an area that might be able to be revegetated, more on the plus side for the wetlands. So that might be it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've been pretty stringent for other people, and,
Right, I would hate to have an action performed this evening that if it may be actually out of the 50. So I think
Yeah.
to scale this off appropriately and make sure that you can say, okay, this is actually in or this is out.
yeah,
I don't want to,
that's a good
Right, yeah,
idea.
you can't-
I don't want to be the decisive with your ruler.
But I mean, I think we have had other projects where we've, done revegetation
Mhm.
instead of, having someone rip
Right,
things
yep.
out.
Yep, for sure.
Well, but it was different in that, I think in most instances like that, they have built or had a yard before our regs. This was put in after, and, I don't know, I just think that there was alternatives that could have been used.
Oh, for sure, yep.
So I don't know, I think we need more consequence in this case. But you're right, we don't know exactly what's on the 50, although it's pretty. You said this isn't to scale, is that what you were saying?
It's close.
It's pretty close, I don't see how that is not at least.
Yeah.
But
You added this line, or did you draw on top of this line? Is that the 50-foot
I
there?
drew on top, yeah, of the line.
Of the line that's in there, right?
Yeah, I kind of guessed where it went.
Under all that stuff, yeah. Actually, do you have the old plan?
That's the one that we kind of did a little bit right here.
I do think that's the line right there. This is not.
Yeah. So probably,
I've got this one, Amy, but I don't think it shows,
It doesn't have it on there.
I don't think it shows the 50.
I think we're going to sign the
It shows
certificate this evening.
the 100, and then the wetland line.
Let's see.
So I think it comes back to we're not obviously going to sign the certificate this evening with the questions that have been raised. So we put forth to the applicant to kind of rethink and bring something back to us on November 4th, knowing what support the
Okay,
input.
so I come back with the right stuff. So have the 50, the engineer modified the plan to show the actual 50.
And color,
Offset
please.
in
Yeah,
color?
just color, yep.
Okay. But then beyond that, as far as the revegetation you were talking about, is that something?
I think you can certainly have a
Do we have to
conversation
do-
with Amy. It's something that you would come up and choose an area that would be appropriate for the wetlands. We've had some positive discussions with other applicants of how they've revegetated areas to kind of come up with some planting scales that you might put in as well.
Okay.
And if necessary, if the 50 crosses over what you had constructed, if you can give us some idea of what would be possible, if it is possible to move the hot tub out of the 50, we'd entertain that as well. We'd like to see that.
So, do you want these? Or?
And you do want these if you're
I'm
gonna.
gonna take one.
Color one?
I'll take the color one.
That's that one. I think it was. And then Anna, can you just take photos? And that letter. Page 2 of Jill's.
Can I hang on to those photos or you?
That's all right. You're gonna bring them back.
Is it okay if Amy takes these photos?
Yeah.
And you can tell us we only need two prints.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Is our 8 o'clock one here?
Is that like
They're in the
the-
hallway.
Those are
in
the
the
extras. I got the
Yeah,
one.
patio and open deck attic, okay.
Does anybody want to do a site walk when I go out there to take a look at things, or?
Sure.
All right, I'll let you know when we can work something out. But you help me with something else there.
No flashlight.
Good evening. We ready?
Yeah.
Good evening. My name's Scott Weiss. I'm with the Gutierrez Company. Ed Scioli signing in over there as well. And Will Park, our engineer from Sims Manning McKee. Since we were last here about the project, we had a very good meeting with representatives from the planning board as well, from the planning department, town planner, and a couple of members to go over the site and what we have come up with, and Will submitted last week, I don't know if everybody got a copy, is a revised waiver request for very, what we would consider minimal activity in the 50-foot buffer zone now. We've eliminated the driving connection with the consideration of the town planner. We've eliminated the vehicle connection between the two building areas entirely, and have essentially stayed out of the 50-foot no disturb zone, with the exception of some sewer pipe lines that need to connect through there. And then we're proposing essentially a gravel path, a pervious walkway through that section, which at the will of the commission we're willing to include or not include. We think it's a beneficial treatment through there to provide a pedestrian path between the buildings. And also, if there is pedestrian activity in there, it's a good way to have a defined route that keeps any pedestrians out of wandering through wetlands or other areas.
You're gonna
So-
find your way through it.
so I think it was Kyle's idea, actually, in fact, when we were talking about it, that it's probably better to create a defined route, and in doing so, we'll do so without, pavement or anything, so it won't be a impervious cover. So.
And it also meets the town's desire for connectivity and pedestrian
Right,
access.
well, and keeping
That's right.
people off Taylor Street
Taylor,
and reducing.
But they'd still be able to get down to the
You take a
train
car.
station.
Like if I worked
That's
there,
right.
I'd probably take a car.
And that could create a nice
safety
route
standpoint.
from the train station if anybody was to be walking back and forth here, so that there's a connection through to the buildings. Once you get across, at the Foster Street intersection, you come across, you can still walk to the entirety of the site without walking on Taylor Street, really. So that has been provided. If it's acceptable to the commission, we'd like to move to the next phase and complete the peer review, which Amy has already provided, obtained a scope and a fee, and we're willing to endorse that and move forward on that front so that we can move
And that's
forward to
the
the
email
next
that you
stage.
sent us.
If anybody wants to see it.
I should also mention that the reduced impervious here allowed us to revise the stormwater so that this constructed wetland BMP that fit just within this 50-foot buffer island right here, and the maintenance drive down to it that we observed out in the field that day is no longer required. We'll simply increase the recharge system here slightly to accommodate the flow that is still in this area.
So as you can see on the materials submitted, that the disturbance, if you will, within the 50-foot no disturb is very limited. Most of it's temporary, and most of it is really associated with the idea of creating this walking path.
Is this sewer pipe? What size was that? We talked about that.
Sewer pipes are force mains, so they're pumps, so they're actually probably 2 to 4 inches, depending on actual ultimate flows in there, but you're really talking small pipes, and there's 2 of them that would go through there, and they can run side by side. They don't need separation.
There's 2 of them. This building uses a pump station to get over here with alternating pumps. So, 2 discharges into a high point manhole here, and then gravity down to the wastewater treatment facility.
When this came around, shared with us today, just my only comment to Amy was, in terms of looking at the peer review, one that was omitted that they would not look at would be the actual NOI. I don't know if that's something that you feel is appropriate for them to look at or not.
I was wondering that too, that whether it was worth redoing the WPA Form 3, and we're reducing impacts, we paid the fee, so I didn't really see the need for us to revise it or for someone to review it. It's not a huge lift if the commission would like to see that to complete the paper trail.
Yeah, the form itself might not change much. And you've been through the delineation, so I think you're done with that piece of it.
That was my only question on the peer review. Glad you had the meeting.
Oh, it was, it was very, very worth having. It was quick, and they basically said, yes, go ahead and do that. The planning board was on board immediately.
Not sure if that's what you wanted, but paid a little money.
So if the peer review looks okay to both parties, I just need to get through the accounting office downstairs, because they're giving me a hard time, everybody a hard time about terms and conditions, so I think we're getting there. And then, did you have any, so you're good?
We're okay if it,
Yeah.
I think it is
Yeah.
good. I don't know if it's a formal vote, but we wanted to
I-
be assured that you guys were on board before we proceeded.
Yeah, I'm just basically looking for direction, because you're gonna have to kind of redo your stormwater, or at least have an addendum to it or
We'll
something.
release Will and his team.
The
to
whole
do so.
report.
I just have one question. Where does the money get paid? Does it get paid to the town and you pay Green?
Yeah, they pay it, basically put it in escrow in the town, and I pay Green out of it, and the same money left over, we cut a check back to Gutierrez.
Okay, I was wondering, is this a bona fide bid, or does that go up and down?
No, this is just submitted, so this is, this is
Is it
secure.
an estimate, or no?
No, this is it.
No, this is it.
Okay.
No, this is secure.
The only thing I mentioned is that
Scope.
the last task 6, we could hold in abeyance.
$6,860.
The last task is them coming back into the commission at the end of all this,
Mhm.
which we could either just line up right now or line up later, because it might not be necessary, but
For them to come in for one meeting.
they have one meeting at the beginning.
Yeah, no, at the end.
At the end,
At
I
the
don't-
end, one
Yeah.
conservation meeting, and that can be,
Usually one hopes that everything is taken care of, so
Right,
they don't
so
need to
that-
come back in.
yeah.
We'll play nice, so
Yeah, we
Oh,
expect
you'll play nice.
they'll
Bring
write a
them in.
report.
Right.
We'll have to respond to any technical issues and make revisions as necessary. And then we presume at the end, there's a report that says everything's been addressed.
yeah, I like how they wrote in there that they'll reach out directly to us, obviously
Yeah.
keeping you in contact,
Yeah.
right? So you don't have, everything doesn't have to go through you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
We find
they're
that
usually
works
pretty
much
good about
better.
that, so.
So I think based on what's been submitted, I would support going forward with the peer review.
Just remember that you talk to them too much.
It'll
Oh,
cost
Price
us
is
more
gonna
money.
go up.
That's right.
Don't just tell these guys.
Oh, they won't, they will start talking to them as soon as they run over their budget, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this gonna be an office building? Is that what it is?
Yes, yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
So-
All right, so I'll get the contract lined up and.
Yeah, and
for sure.
Ed has Razor Smith has their check in there so that you guys will have the funds available. We're eager to move forward and, it's been a little bit of time trying to get to this point, so we're,
Well, they can't move forward until they have the new plans and revised.
right.
Report
And
anyway,
we'll,
so.
following this meeting, we'll have them in next week.
Yeah,
So
at
we're
some
not
point,
putting them on for
the
the
plans,
full-
I had questions on the plans that we should sit down and go through as well, some buffers.
So are you gonna hold time for them on the 18th? Not for them, won't be ready.
There's
for
no
the
way to be
4th.
ready the 4th.
No, because they have to get.
They won't have, you probably won't have time then for them to turn it
So we
around.
meet
Yeah, they
every 2
won't
weeks, so the
turn around.
4th and then the 18th.
Yeah, if we can shoot for the 18th and then
So at least get it on, maybe we'll put it towards the rear and then we can always kind of scratch it
Yeah.
off, or the beginning.
Yeah, if we can, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't make
That's
that.
feasible.
Okay.
Do I need a motion to,
I don't think so.
I think
there's
It's just
consensus, so it's
continued.
fine. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I think
all
we're
right.
good. Okay.
Do you have a sidewalk from the train station up to your property?
So we have the sidewalk through the property, onto,
Well, your
across the
property,
site,
like, starts right at the end of,
at the end of Foster.
yeah, at the end of Foster.
right.
Is there a sidewalk going up Foster?
That's not something we.
No, I'm just
Yeah,
wondering.
is there one today?
There is.
I don't think so.
Yeah, the town is trying to get money to do that, but.
Yeah, because they want to do the whole stretch
Yeah,
all
Yeah.
the way.
right, the complete.
It's gonna be a
streets.
separate-
For Foster is.
I mean, that would make
separate.
sense,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
Foster's
we-
at the top of the
Strip
list
them
for
between-
construction for the
Would be
complete
nice.
streets
When those are done,
format,
it's very
which is
nice.
biking
And we
and.
obviously.
And if you're putting a big
The
development
physical
in, it
fitness
makes
from the
sense too.
railroad station up there.
People
Thank
gonna-
you.
People are gonna walk along the road anyway.
Yeah, and it would be great. I mean, it is a different perspective. People, I think when this all started, the expectation of sidewalks is different than it is now.
Oh, it's changed. Well,
Yeah.
obviously, the whole area's changed.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep. Maybe Mass Bay Transit Authority, they're not coming in.
They're not coming in because the third-party review hasn't been able to get going yet. That's on the towns.
So, we can go back to,
Cadillo at Taylor Street.
They're almost there. They've done a whole list of things, which I've got to bring in with me, that we had asked them to do.
Okay.
And John Field is, he says, like maybe 80-90% done with the as-built. So he just needs to wrap all that up.
Okay. Long Lake BMP maintenance.
So if you go to the beach, to the boat ramp at the beach, as you head into the water, right on the left side of the boat ramp, there's a
Stormwater.
tier.
stormwater
thing.
feature there, yeah. So they want to do maintenance in there. Which is, oh yeah, fine, and finally dug out the plans and found that it was a permitted
Yeah.
BMP, and
Yeah,
that,
no, nice.
so I was gonna tell Chris to go ahead, doesn't need a permit for it. It does have to be revegetated, so I'll be working with him on that.
yeah, good.
So
Cleaned up.
just
Let you know, because someone
maybe
gets,
snappers there at the end of the summer.
yeah, they should chase him out.
Conservation restriction baseline report.
Or what about the hang?
Oh, the
Uh-huh.
haying licenses.
Hang license? You sent that around.
Sent that around, and then I had an
And-
opportunity to look at Amy.
And here's one that Jim sent
Yeah.
around as a example that Harvard uses, which is a little more user-friendly.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I'm actually talking to SVT, because they might have one as well.
Right.
Oh, just $1 annually?
That,
Well, that
that
varies.
just
an
happens to
example.
be that parcel.
Yeah.
No, but that's historically what we have done
Yeah.
in this
We don't want to
community.
scare people off.
So
Exactly.
They're putting a
It's a
lot of money
balance.
into the field, so I had a chance to kind of look at this, and, well, Harvard, and it's nice to have the letter of support for the chairman, certainly, but I would support something that is more on the simple and concise lease agreement.
Other than Danny Pickard, is there anybody else at Hayes?
The town mows
No,
in the
he's the
field,
only,
so, we're losing.
He does Yap and he
Space.
does Newtown.
And Cooper now, which is not Concom land.
Does he
Yeah.
have similar concerns that you have, and that is the mixed wild growth, other than grasses that might be in his hay? I mean, does he use the hay, or?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah,
it's-
for sure.
And a lot of it's Hoss hay, which the Hoss people are very fussy about.
Hmm.
Right, Sarah?
I don't know what you're talking
Representing
about.
horse people.
There's also mulch hay too that
But
people use.
there's
so-
not the call for that
And there's
the way it
siltation
used to
fence,
be.
eh?
Hmm?
Mhm.
Yeah.
mulch
There's
hay.
also siltation fence, eh? Oh, that's the mulch, eh?
Straw.
Yeah.
But there
Straw.
isn't-
Supposed to be straw now, right?
Yeah.
But there isn't that much call for it. That business has gone south.
What, horses? Horse
No,
hay?
the
No,
mulch
mulch.
hay.
Oh, mulch hay. Yeah, because
Because,
seeding. I mean,
well, they're
it's
using
seeds
the
in it.
wattles
It's all wattles and socks.
Oh,
and
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
and all that.
Well, that isn't mulch.
Bales.
That's,
Well, they were-
It's
Erosion
straw.
control.
Same idea.
It was out
Yeah.
of
But
control, they were
it's-
way too
they
big
don't
and
require the baled hay very often.
right.
Oh, yeah.
always got left.
I mean,
A lot of people are going back to requiring hay, straw bales instead of wattles.
Oh,
Oh, really?
Well, straw bales, they're just structural.
Oh, they're.
Yeah.
You know, the little wattles, you end up
wattles
just
like-
picking them up and,
Oh,
They
yeah.
wash
Things
away or
flow
they
in.
I never
undercut.
really liked the wattles, but,
But the bales never go away, that's the downside.
Well,
Oh,
that's-
the bales do, the twine doesn't. So
And they
the bales will degrade.
seed.
Yeah.
So, but,
yeah, and with the wattles,
Oh,
depending on what the
so it's
netting's made
actual-
of.
The
Okay.
grade and fill the well in.
Well, some of the wattles are back, you know,
Yep, some of them in
something
a
full.
sock and, yeah, netting sort of.
So I think if we can send that around for
Yes.
comment, I support using Harvard's. I don't know if we have to run that through council, but
Yeah, well, let me also see if SVT
If
comes up
SVT
with
has one.
something. And there's a possibility I'd put in for that grant for the mowing stuff with SVT. They also may be able to research
okay,
some stuff in there too, so.
good.
Kind of on hold, but I'd like to see
As long as we get it done this
what we
winter.
got.
So, okay, what about the conservation restriction baseline? I see that's on my agenda list here.
Yes, this got started because Oxbow called me and said, what do you want for the information for the conservation restriction on Glavy property? And basically, I'm assuming we're not ready for a baseline because we don't know exactly where it's gonna be. And a baseline usually takes pictures at all the property corners. So I don't know if you saw what I was suggesting, I'll just read it, in the near term, is a short write-up about vegetative community types, expected wildlife use habitat, invasives, and just sort of a description of what's out there. Skimming the surface, not a heavy-duty natural resource type. And that could be part of the CR itself, and then the formal baseline, once you have, if you're gonna require bounds, you can actually do that part of it later.
Right, because one thing that I had mentioned to them was an aerial is a nice way to start, so that way we can see
Yeah.
baseline of where vegetation or outcroppings of things
Yeah,
are, so.
yeah. So I kind of put that up there because it's a more of a generic, what do you want to see type thing than necessarily,
So you're going one step further. You'd like to see a photograph now
Mhm.
yeah.
and have as much as possible, the bounds showing on it if possible.
If they could, yeah, because then it
Yeah,
gives us.
because you might not know the exact meets and bounds
Yeah.
to put on the aerial photograph, but it can at least be something to get us covered, get you
Right.
covered while the CR is being worked on. And then when
Well, you
the
can see
meets and
how-
bounds
how
are
it runs
set,
into something else.
concrete bounds potentially are put in the field, they have to go back and take a picture of everyone, the conditions. But that's
Yeah.
next summer.
But, yeah,
Yeah.
actually, you can locate them with the GPS, can't they?
They're gonna have to survey them in, they're gonna have to be very
Right, we still
specific.
have to
There's
read.
survey grade GPS,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
that you can
Yeah.
collect points. As long as it's not in the afternoon and north facing and on this side of it.
And on conservation restrictions, I just today sent out letters to everybody who has a CR saying I'm gonna walk them on November 18th. God help me.
Busy.
And Glenn Berger wants out, he's selling. And he has sold 73 Hartwell to Doug Shaw, so Doug is getting a letter. And
Getting a letter about the
Glenn Berger
invasives.
is selling out, so he's done with black maple. And, there's a couple posts that haven't put in yet, and he can't put them in yet until they move the shed and move the sand pit and all that stuff. So we're kind of in the middle of things here.
I think, yeah, that's moved.
Can you hold up his sale if he doesn't get them in? I mean,
It's kind of not his fault they're not in. Well, it's his fault he didn't put them in,
It's, yeah.
years ago.
He
But
contributed
he
to the
can't
problem.
put them in right now because the other people are in the middle of restoration. Moving a
wait.
shed on one property, and then the whole beach
Yeah, but
volleyball.
what leverage are we gonna have?
He can wait.
if he-
He can help do the legwork.
You have to put some money in some
Oh, there you
type
go.
of fund or escrow
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'd kind of lean towards putting a lien on, that way you get paid.
Mhm.
So I-
Yeah, he can't kick this down the road. This
Well,
was.
I think you have to go ahead.
started
and
by him.
Talk to council or something and
Yeah.
that we need to be paid. And then once they're done, can get paid back.
Okay. Any other updates, administrative action, or anything that you?
I had a question about the, it looks like the water department's looking for the sources of PFAS in our various different watersheds, and I'm just curious, do we have input on that, as far as like, we know there's stormwater and wastewater industrial discharge from plastics manufacturing, for example. Boston Globe just came out with
This is
synthetic turf fields
Not on
discharge.
the agenda. It's
Yeah.
a real source
Okay.
of disagreement. There's
Okay.
potential suits out there. They told us if anybody talks to us about it, I gotta document everything that's said.
Okay.
So I would say no.
Okay. I just was wondering if, like, that's coming down the pike at all.
I have no idea.
Okay.
No idea.
Okay.
You can talk to the water department, ask Corey or somebody.
What is the conservation land that they were talking about, water department was talking about putting in the conservation, it's in the warrant.
Oh, the Whitcomb Avenue.
The well site.
Is that the, where the pole pine and stuff is, or is that?
A lot of that's the whole Article 97 suit discussion that the attorneys are handling.
Okay.
We have a few more minutes.
Matt and I were at the MACC conference this Saturday. He was a presenter on urban forestry,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, correct.
Were they attentive to you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I shocked him. Gave him a lot of-
Did you give them lots of pretty handouts?
Lots of tough questions. We were saving the trees, but
Good.
a lot of just
Andrew was down there with a chainsaw just waking people up.
climate change talk, all that sort of fun stuff. Urban forestry and retention of vegetation and nature-based solutions, and that was sort of the general talk. It was myself, Bob O'Connor from Energy and Environmental Affairs, and someone from Devon's. We had the planner from Devon's, and then someone with Groundwork Lawrence, who was doing sort of a municipal level project. So yeah, I don't know. No one was in attendance from here, so.
I was next door. I was at the buffer zone one.
Out of curiosity, is there anything being done about replacing some of these huge trees that are rotting in the middle that are coming down on people's houses in some of the urban area?
Replacing?
I mean, it's just, you seem split off.
Well,
and
so
Interplanting, yeah.
trees that have been planted, 50, 60, 80 years ago that weren't sort of what we call right tree, right place, that's being addressed with, the knowledge and information we have about species selection now. So when we do our current urban forest plantings, we go through the process of vetting the species and doing right tree, right place. That also goes not just around buildings, but it's huge with the utility companies and power lines, and that's above ground and underground, the whole shebang. So trying as best as we can. So not to say that natives aren't great, but to take native trees and also non-native trees that are adapted to urban environments, drought tolerant, salt tolerant, things like that, and applying those when necessary as well.
I read recently, I wasn't aware that, that mature trees sequester carbon and, from a climate change standpoint, or, just sequester way more carbon and are much better than when we, replace them. So, replacing trees isn't as good as just leaving the mature trees in place. Like I just read that recently.
That's why conservation land's so important, you know, it's a good thing we have that going.
Are you good, like from a forestry standpoint though, is that something that's on your radar?
Well, but we also have we have a working forest initiative on state land, so we we don't want to be buying wood from China when Massachusetts produces
Right.
lumber as well, but using sustainable and modern forestry harvest methods. They've been doing that for a while now to kind of find that balance, which is the most important part.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the hidden life of trees, which I'd started reading once and got bogged down or something, so I
Is that the
can
one
try it
with
again.
the trees that talk to each other?
Yeah. I'll give it a try.
Well,
That
talk
was
as in.
conservation, just walked through here.
Yeah.
Did you see what they were doing? Oh, I dropped a
Are you
big one.
promoting-
Oh, is he a nice Italian
It's
movie?
hard hat season in my
Oh,
backyard.
God. And it's
Holy
like
cow.
break your ankles.
Yeah, like ball bearings and hard hat
Oh,
if
yeah.
needed in my
that's-
backyard.
Yeah.
Like
My
oaks.
sister got pegged the other day.
But I do need that buffer zone thing back.
Yes, I was just
Give
thinking
me a
about
chance, yeah.
talking about.
Is that
I-
the book?
I did notice,
door and of course.
Yeah.
I did notice that the parking lot on Harvard Road was pretty near full
Oh.
this weekend, last weekend.
Good.
There seems to be getting quite a bit of use.
Good.
And I've been going by.
Yeah, and the light department is about to drill some post holes at Cloverdale for the kiosk and the swing sign. And it sounds like they're willing to do some more, so that might be getting a swing sign.
That little free
Outside.
library ever get put on?
I don't think so.
There's a parking lot at Cloverdale,
I think she said it was
that's
gonna
still
take
in
a
the
little while.
construction, right?
Yeah, it's maybe halfway done, maybe more than halfway done. I think they're waiting to amass more grindings and they'll finish it off.
This is stressful.
Yep.
We'll go ahead and start. We got 1 minute maybe.
Can we move forward with the 8:30 one? That's a
Yep.
couple minutes
I think we're fine.
shy, but
We can take 1 minute to get up here, get settled.
Yeah.
Move slow.
yes. Crawl.
Do you need it? 'Cause I'll make you come get it.
If you just drop it off. Don't do it tonight. I'm not gonna be here long.
You're not gonna do it?
Public hearing, notice of intent, 9 Air Road, U43-3-0, Mass DEP file number 204-898, construction of 2 driveways, 3 houses, and with utility connections.
Thank you, sir. Members of the commission, good to see you again. Again, Greg Roy, Ducharme Dillis, representing PMM Realty Trust. We were here 2 weeks ago, and we had a short list of items to take care of on the plan, and I issued revised plans last week with a letter, and I'll just summarize what the changes we made. So the first thing was to add a tree protection zone on the plans. So we've added the limit of where that would be pursuant to the guidance that you gave me based on tree diameter. So we added.
Just mark up, just so that everybody can see.
Yeah,
If you
it's
want
hard
to
to
just,
see, I'm
just
sorry.
go, no, just, you can just use this one. Just like mark
Oh,
the
great,
things
yeah.
that you're talking about.
Yeah, sure, that's a good idea. So, it's this line right here. And there'll be an orange snow fence that we'll put on that.
One moment.
Right here.
Sorry, I'm having trouble with the connection.
What is that?
That's my new
Siri
phone. And
assist?
Siri just
Get a
does-
Siri assist?
Siri just, I guess so, it just doesn't, I'm sorry about that. We'll sleep with it. Sorry about that, unbelievable. So, actually, I think we had it, yeah, so, and we have it on this plan too, so it's, on this plan, it's right here. There. That, and then over here. That. All right, so that's one. The second thing is to add check dams. So these are all the check dams that we added. There's one there, it's just hidden under the label, and then all down here.
What are your thoughts while we're going through that? We recognize check dams and they're ultimate timing will not be frozen. What do you think will happen in frozen conditions with those check dams?
Well, we've given a shoulder in between where the swales would be. So, and the purpose of that was primarily for snow storage. So, I mean, I really don't. I mean, if you've got 3 feet of snow and you get a 3-inch rainfall, I mean, you have the same problems that everybody's going to have. It's going to be kind of choked up. But I think that, you know, and if it's on frozen ground, obviously it's not going to infiltrate anywhere. So I mean, you'd have those issues. But I mean, at least with the check dams, you'll still have that volume behind it. And if it is, I mean, the good news about snow, you know, when you have big snow years, you don't have as much frost sometimes. You know, it insulates the ground, so you get some, you know, get some exfiltration in those swales. So, but we put them every 2 vertical feet, like we indicated last week. So I mean, there will be quite a bit of storage in that swale. You're kind of effectively flattening that water.
Would it
source.
pay to have a deep crushed stone base underneath 1 or 2 of them, just so that the water would infiltrate? I mean, that's sandy gravel
Yeah.
in that area.
I mean,
It just food for thought. But
yeah,
if you had
we could. I mean, we do actually over excavate them. We added a detail as well, so when we put those in, we key that stone into the swale, and we excavate it out about a foot below where the grade would be, and then put the stone in. So there is some of that there, you know, to allow that to get down below the. We're not just laying it on the topsoil,
Right.
I guess. Is what I
Right.
mean, so.
I think that's
so
a good
that's-
idea. I think it's something to consider. I think that's just a concern that we have. Okay.
We updated the construction sequencing plan just to coordinate with the way we're planning to excavate the material out of the site. I think we had the building demolition first, and so we updated that to correspond with, you know, correspond with the fact that we'll be taking out material before and building the driveways before those are demolished. We added a note specifying that the hydro seeding with a tackifier be used to stabilize the slope. And we updated the caliber of the plants, of the plantings to 2-inch caliber. We had a 1-inch shown before.
We had a discussion on the grass seed that was going to be sprayed. I don't know what the outcome of that was, because it was a slope. I don't remember
It was a
where-
meadow mix, but I don't think we actually had too much input on what it should be or what we were looking for. I think you proposed the local meadow mix, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that'll hold up okay on that. I mean, it's a 1-on-3 or flatter. So I mean, we're not talking about it's not a shallow slope for sure, but it's not a 1-on-2 slope is where you start to get to the point where you might want to put something deeper on there. So
So once you're into that, that might be a field change. If you're looking at that soils and
Yeah.
your grade, that might be something to think about.
yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
I got a question. How old is Foster's house?
39? Isn't it 39? The barn's older.
Huh. Because I can remember I've been up there in '75. Been there a long time.
Not that old.
He didn't, he
He
built
did?
it? Did he build it?
I do not know that answer.
I'm curious.
Where's the siltation barrier down by the Dale Road?
It's all along the edge of the road, as high up as we can do it. So
Yeah.
right, it's that thick barrier right in there, and then we'll have the construction entrance, stone entrances at the, on the driveways.
And you're all set with Mass DOT?
Yeah, we're working with it. They haven't issued the permit yet, but we've supplied them with some additional plans. They also requested the drainage report that we sent to you, so it's in process still, but
And that's under review now?
yes, yep.
Was it your, sorry, go
No,
ahead.
good, I'm
I
good.
was just curious if it was your thought while that is still under review, if you're seeking to close this.
Yes, we'd like to close it.
I'm guessing they might want that.
Hmm?
They probably want that, I would think, DOT.
Yeah, yeah, they do. It certainly, helps to have local permitting taken care of, so.
So at the bottom, where is the water runoff to when it gets down by? Just review that for me when it's
That-
running down the driveways.
Yeah, so the
Where's
driveways
it?
are crowned,
Yeah,
and so the runoff goes to the swales that we have on
Yeah.
both sides.
and then where's it go?
And then it comes down, and it goes into these infiltration areas right at the toe of the slopes. There's one there, there's one in between, and there's one there.
Right.
So this swale runs into this area. Both of these swales run into the middle one, and then this one runs into that one. So
And you were saying there's little forebays you can.
Yep.
So
Selling out.
would all the water be contained, or if it goes over, where does it go?
We actually contain it up to the 100-year storm event. It's very good soil, so we have that advantage. But if it were to overflow, it would just spill over into the right of way and run along the gutter to the catch basins that exist. There's one.
Because you have a catch basin on
two of
the
them.
right.
There's
yeah.
two of them. Yeah.
The catch basins for the road?
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah. But the way we designed those was to it actually reduces the runoff to the street and exfiltrates on all storms except for maybe the 100 is about the same. What we've,
You're going to be
said.
getting, like, if they're plowing a road, you're going to be getting the salt splash into those things? Is it?
Well, we set them. We put them outside of the right of way, so they're actually set off probably about 15 feet from the road. So that should help. But yeah, I mean, you might.
I think you're gonna get it.
What's that?
I think you're gonna get it.
Yeah, and I was just wondering if that's all going to contribute to how much water those things can hold.
Well, and
Look at the
vegetation surviving in
swamp
them.
across the street, it's pretty near the same level
Yeah, it's
as the
low.
road.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where we would look at vegetation's gonna have to go through quite a bit of minimum 3-year review
Mm.
to keep that.
Yeah, the
going.
salt is gonna kill the vegetation, and we're basically losing all the vegetation within the wetland buffer to the
Oh.
drainage that's necessary
There's
for
no-
the driveways, and then up hills getting clear cut.
There's no trees to
That's
absorb.
right. And up
So, yeah.
uphills also getting clear cut, so they can cut and fill. And so my concern is the drainage to create, or the drainage capacity infiltration basins are necessary within the buffer zone where we would normally require restoration, revegetation, and by virtue of the engineering structures that are necessary, none of that's possible. And so I'm wondering if you'd be willing to do some trees upslope from that to make up for, I mean, we're losing a lot. We really are, and trying to revegetate within the buffer zone, given the salt situation, is just not reality.
No.
So they already they do have a planting plan
Yeah.
upstream of it.
Right, so I know we talked about that, and
We have trees there.
Yeah, and the trouble is they did what we
We asked them
said
to-
last
yeah.
time. And-
Which was that in terms of enhanced vegetation?
Mhm.
Yeah.
The house was built in 1923.
That's over 100, almost 100 years old.
What size trees did we decide on?
Minimum of 2-inch.
2-inch, yep.
Yeah, not less than.
The trouble is, I think in this situation, when you do a lot of clearing, if you just keep a couple trees or a few trees, it's unlikely they survive. They tend to die if you remove all the trees that they've been
Yeah.
around.
Right.
Because they were in the middle of the forest.
Yeah, they were cooperating, and
Right.
then they lost that.
They're talking to each
They
other?
were talking to each other.
But
They're blocking.
I don't gotta read that.
I gotta read that. I guess I gotta
I
find
pay
that.
0 in taxes.
Saying, oh no, what's going to happen?
Well, I think they're just gonna have to keep vegetating. So this is not gonna be a one and done by any means, so. they have to
Nick,
keep-
do you,
Yeah, I mean, you've made it clear that we'll have a 3-year warranty.
Right, but even if they're not done at 3 years, you still have to keep planning them.
do they have mats, like BMPs for lack of a better term, for trees, constructing around trees and best practices
Yes,
of
yeah,
trees?
yeah,
So you
yeah.
have that?
Yeah. That's how we laid out these radiuses, based
just-
on the tree diameters.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was a comment last week, that we wanted to show those on the.
Yep.
so.
Yeah.
I was envisioning like a whole swath of trees. Plus, the people who live there probably would like privacy too.
Anybody else have any questions?
What is the starting schedule for this?
Cut.
Cut, yeah, when you,
Cut and go. From the
like,
road down.
yeah,
You mean
but
like when do we
when-
have to start?
Time of year, which year?
This year.
This year, 2019?
Mhm.
But they still have to get Mass DOT's approval.
Mhm.
Yeah, we expect that they've had that for a while, so we expect that pretty soon.
It's pretty late to plant though.
I won't
Maybe
be able
trees
to-
are okay.
They won't be able to plant till
No.
spring yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, then if that's the case on the slopes, they're gonna put netting just to hold it in case it's blood, sandy gravel. Probably.
We'll use hay.
Okay.
Well, you may,
So,
depending on conditions, it may need to be netted.
yeah, I mean,
For sure.
we've
If
run
there's
it,
slide, then it'll be shut, then it'll be
once
netting
the
everything,
soil
so.
could move
Yeah.
really quickly once you start cutting into it,
Right.
especially with some weather coming in.
For sure.
We've faced that many times.
We faced it with you.
We hope not to face it
Oh,
again.
Face it
I
again.
don't want to do it again. It's
I'd hate-
aged me terribly.
I'd hate to see you have to clean that swamp across the street.
I'm good at it now.
Like got some kids in the
On your own property, not somebody else's.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
All right. Okay. I think
You know.
the expectation is.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know.
lessons
I
learned,
know.
right?
So,
You know what, that was a huge undertaking for us. Bigger than we
Yeah.
ever
No,
imagined.
Yeah.
You know,
I remember.
we've come out it better than,
okay. Right.
so let's make a motion.
Well, I don't know if
You
anybody
make
has
one?
any questions.
I'll make the motion.
Yeah.
So we make a motion to
I'd-
close this hearing?
I'd make a motion to issue an order of conditions for 9 Air Road, U43-3-0, Mass DP number 204898. Got lots of phone stuff going on.
And a waiver?
And a waiver for the area close to the road within the 50. Right.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I got another question. What is that cement vault or door or what have you that's down by the road?
I have asked that myself, and I do
went in
not
there.
know.
Root cellar?
A old well.
It's a well, I was gonna say.
An old well house,
Yeah.
like a big belt-driven well.
Yeah. Probably
It was
Must have pumped out of
Weird.
the pond.
From that door, it
Wow.
goes down another
Groundwater.
10 feet probably. And
You gonna abandon that?
Be gone.
yeah, it hasn't been
You
used
don't want a
in
direct pathway
a
to
long
ground.
time.
It has a
It's probably good enough to
smokestack
have
on
that.
it.
Yeah, I think there was like a tiny potbelly stove in it a while back.
That's tough living.
Man cave?
Gin mill?
Yeah.
A gin mill?
There you go.
Bootlegging for somebody?
Yeah.
I was
Really
wondering
visible
if,
though.
wasn't a milk storage or something at
I thought
some
it was a
point?
root cellar, but it didn't go back. It was really shallow.
Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Appreciate it, thank you very much.
I'll call you the instant it's ready.
I'm sorry?
I'll call you the instant the order conditions is ready.
I can't hear you.
I'll call you when it's ready.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Good night, see you, Greg.
Okay. Public hearing, notice of intent, Healy Corner, 195 Tehadawon, R07-1-0, Mass PUD, file number 204-899, construction of an open space development, including tree clearing, grubbing, grading, and construction construction of a subdivision, roadway, stormwater management system, septic system, and multiple single-family dwellings.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, since we were together last,
Let's hold up till Amy comes back.
oops, sorry.
Any abutters that want to come forward, you can come closer and have a look at the plan if you'd like.
There's also another plan that's been submitted if you choose.
Yet another plan.
Yep. Do you want to just hand, can I have one of
Yeah,
those?
definitely.
Do you want to just?
Oh, that one right here? Is this the?
No, that's
Oh.
Middlesex.
Take a look.
So Amy, 3 plans were submitted.
Yep.
Were they-
Two
one,
sets.
Well.
Well,
So working, yeah.
Don't wait for me.
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just make some noise over here.
So, with you and with the planning board, Green International Review, we've tried to address the concerns from everybody. The plans that I've just dropped off with you are ones that we dropped off Friday with the planning board. Basically, we have added on a sidewalk in the development, which is on one side, and created some more impervious area between the sidewalk and the parking at the trailhead. So,
Is that a planning board request?
we had, no, the planning board request, or actually DPW request, was the sidewalk.
Okay.
You know, we were going with the trails. We're still doing the trails, but they want sidewalk within it.
Okay.
And then we decided to pave this area that was the trailhead parking within the development, not the one down on Harwood. So, with that increased our runoff a little bit, so we modified our basin a little bit. We also, as we discussed last time, we flipped, and this plan shows it, the grading from the primary in the back to putting the primary out front and leaving the work in the buffer zone undisturbed. From our discussions previously relative to replication areas, we've looked at the area that is upgrading of the stone wall from the field, and upgrading from the edge of the wetlands, and then we have this spot in here, and we're generating, I think, 3,200 square feet of replication area there. We'll be cutting down into the groundwater level, and also would have the discharge from the drainage basin area to help maintain good hydraulic connection there, and it gets us out of the woods. It's not the entire area that is necessary for the 3-to-1. So what we've done is we've reduced, obviously, the space over here. We've earmarked this area, which is about 2,600 square feet. But when we flip to the detail sheet, just momentarily, because it will show us this in better detail. I think I know what page it's on, but I don't. There it is. Once you find it, you lost it. So we'd have 3,600 square feet of replication up front, and this area back here is 2,600 square feet, but what we would only need is 905 square feet of additional area to meet our 3-to-1. So what we've called out here is to the replication in this area to be laid out in the field with Amy, if you so choose, or somebody from the board and ourselves and Oxbow, in between some of the larger trees, down near the edge of the well. All we need to do is pick up 900 square feet more in that location, 905. But it's very flat, it's very close to the existing hydrology in the area and the existing wetlands, so we think it's a good compromise, because then it wouldn't have to clear trees out in the woods, And the trees in here, there was a couple dead trees that are pretty much just green from invasives on them right now. So it's a win-win from the standpoint of not having to take down trees in that area. We have, as I mentioned last time, changed the culvert from the round culvert to a box culvert that's 30 by 48, and it's buried 6 inches into the ground, so that it gives us the same effect as the open culvert, but it's we backfill with in situ material in the sections as we put it in place, so that you had a bigger critter space. Those of you who've been out there, you saw there's really no channel to speak of, and there's no vegetation in that actual crossing area to speak of. So I think we're going to come out, ahead on those aspects of it.
Now, how much airspace is there going to be after you fill in, or after you cover the
24
base with
inches.
soil?
2 feet.
2 feet. And how is the length?
48 inches wide. Oh, and the length of it?
Yes.
I want to say it's 24 feet, 26 feet. Thank you, Scale.
So you burying 2 feet in the ground?
Burying it
6 inches.
6 inches. Well, the structure itself will be in, but we're backfilling 6 inches. So and it's on a slope, so it's holding the existing grade, up gradient and down gradient on a slope, and then putting it in place there.
Hopefully that'll be enough airspace for the length, but it's pretty long.
Enough airspace for the line?
Well, just the critters like to see
Where they're
light
going.
at the end of the
Yes.
tunnel.
Yes.
And have enough space for them to really want to
Yeah.
go into a dark area.
It's like 24 feet
Okay.
on the outside edge. So, those are the chief changes to the plans.
What type of wetland will you be creating on that?
In here?
that one?
Well, it'd be a wooded wetland area, but we'd be putting in the shrub-based plants in there, because there's, you're trying to plant deciduous trees underneath the tall pines.
It's a big canopy.
Huge
We have to
canopy.
really go back out, look
Yeah.
at that to kind of be selective of what's going to match there and
Yeah.
what will
Yeah.
be successful.
Yeah. And I'll do that with Oxbow.
Compete with the barberry.
We're getting rid of all the barberry, it's all right
Yeah.
here. We're getting rid of that. The other thing that I did this evening, or brought you in this evening, was the 3 different O&Ms. We've broken them into 3. It was 1 O&M. There's 1 O&M that's for just this stretch, for Alfred Trail. There's one that's for the subdivision as a whole, and there's one that's for 2 lots out front that really don't pertain to you guys, but I brought you copies of that as well. Also, I brought in, and I will email PDFs to Amy in the morning, of the draft CRs. They're just about verbatim to the Kinghorn. I got a hold of that, and I checked, and Mark went through and checked them right through, except for we don't have the big bold language in there that says no public allowed. But other than that, it's pretty much verbatim. There is a couple little sections at the beginning that need to have some more language added in, but it's on the same footprint and whatnot. And obviously, you haven't read that, so I don't
Right.
expect anything to happen from this evening, because I'm bringing this stuff in and giving you a heads up as to where we are.
So that's expected tomorrow or in the coming days?
That's all right there. It's in that stack, but I'll send it to you electronically, so that everybody knows. There's 4 copies of each of them right
So
there.
everything was submitted on Friday?
No, everything was submitted right there.
Oh, just now for that?
Right
Okay.
there. It was submitted to the planning board on Friday, but it was after.
Who would hold the CR? Conservation Commission?
That's
Sorry, what's
up
that?
for debate.
What was that?
I'm asking who would hold the CR?
That's what we'll talk about. Every Valley.
Yeah, that's something that's,
We don't think that we
it's
would
out there.
hold it. So. But we'll see.
Is- well,
It's all part of debate,
We've,
discussion.
yeah, and they have, the applicant's talking with some folks as well, that they introduced to you. also. I
But now you
think,
piqued my interest. Who are they going to introduce?
I was gonna say, who
us?
else is there besides the usual cast
We
of
only know
characters?
who the main people are.
LCT or SVT,
Right.
or
Is
us?
it one of those or a different one?
I've
Sudbury
been-
Valley trustees or?
No, a different one they've been talking to. So when I find out they've got made some headway, then
They
I'll
might
let
need some
you know.
vetting.
You know them well.
Okay.
You know them well. So basically, that I believe are the changes that we've had. A lot of little engineering pieces here and there, but the drainage was all, as I say, adjusted for this additional area, which made that basin a little bit bigger. Other than that, everything is set up.
Did you do the economic analysis, since that's your primary reason for going into the 50?
I did not have, I don't have numbers. I don't know where Roger came up with his numbers, but I haven't had the ability of speaking with the client to get any numbers from him as of yet. And that's one thing I got to get from him right away. I've been trying to reach the people.
Right, because I think that really is, as Anna's been really forthright through all the hearings, is that's really fulfilling an obligation to the waiver for sure. So,
Mhm. I
while the
understand.
dialogue is good to keep the process going, certainly look at the CR and replication areas. That's something that we always have to keep making sure that the box is going to get ticked.
I totally agree.
Okay.
I can only
Right. No, I
provide as
understand.
much as I can gain access to.
Right. Okay.
But I just wanted to come in and
Yep.
keep the ball moving forward, show you where we're at. We chucked off a few more boxes,
Mhm.
made some changes along things that we had talked about. And
So what are your thoughts going forward so we meet on the 4th, so we're obviously meeting every 2 weeks. Do you feel as though you're going to need a lot more time to
No,
kind
I'm
of
hoping
bring
I
the
can-
analysis to the commission?
I'm hoping
and-
I can get the analysis to the commission within the next couple days. I mean, I've been pushing for it.
Okay.
Because that will take some discussion time, for
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah. Got questions, any questions? I think going forward, when you come back to the discussion of the 2 areas for replication areas, I've seen them. I think it would be helpful to have some of the other commissioners to kind of look at that, if those are where you're going to choose for that to go.
anybody wants to go, just give me a yell through Amy, or you have my number, call me direct, whatever you'd like.
I feel pretty comfortable with them. I took a very close look at that point, right next to yeah.
I think this is a great area. That when we came across the meadow,
Yeah.
it was the area that had all the invasives growing up into the field. That
What are you gonna do with that as far as recreating that wetland in there?
That would be out on the edge. We can plant some red maples in there along with other shrubs. But I'm going to leave the plant list up to Oxbow. They're the ones that are out on the site.
Yeah, I mean, that's in the open, right? There's no tree canopy
There,
there.
it
the edge of
isn't.
the bush.
It's right on the edge.
Dead.
What's
Yeah.
that?
It's dead. The
Yeah.
canopy, it's been choked out.
Yeah.
But
Its expectancy is kind of going
Be a
with the
good
invasive.
place for pollinators.
Oh, for
right at
sure.
the
Oh,
edge
yeah.
Yeah,
there.
for sure. It's
Yeah,
got a
to get
nice kind
some-
of bottom of that field.
Yep.
Yeah.
How about blueberries or something?
Yeah, Mike, because it's wet enough, yeah.
What did you say? Good place for what?
Pollinators.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't
It'd
hear.
be a
right.
great place for that with all the sun and.
Right. Well, yeah, we talked about the sun out there.
Yeah. It'd get morning sun, and then it'd be kind of cut off because once it gets to here,
Yeah.
they'll be shaded in the afternoon, which will
Yeah.
be good
That's
because
fine.
in the heat of the summer when the groundwater is low, it's going to keep it from getting real
Right.
dry.
Gotcha.
Sarah and I kind of sat out there with the
Sundial.
sundial, played it out.
Literally, we're like looking at that
I would have paid to see that.
now.
Hey, it was good.
I was wondering in the CR, is there gonna be any kind of a management?
There is the option for management in there, yes.
Yeah, just,
For, you're talking lumbering or?
just
to
taking
manage the wood,
dead
yeah.
trees
Yeah.
or just, I mean, if this goes on 100 years, you're gonna have to deal with
Yes.
Keeping it healthy.
trees and stuff.
Yeah,
down the
there
road.
is the avenue for that in there.
Okay.
And aside from all that, I tried your tick stuff out. The only time I've gotten a tick this year was that day.
Oh,
Next
wow.
morning, I had one right
Oh, you
here,
did have one,
stuck
yeah.
right in. I was like,
Yeah, they're out.
They're carrying disease.
Yeah.
They carry big time
The guy
disease.
Yeah.
8 Mason Brook got Lyme's. What's his name? From 8 Mason Brook. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Yeah, no, ticks are.
Yeah, Lyme's.
all right. So we can continue on the 4th, that'd be great.
Anybody from the audience need to say something?
Evening.
Sure.
Mark Gallagher, 307 Harwood. I only have one copy left of this because I just got it this afternoon. Do you want to make
Submit
a
it to
copy?
Amy.
Can you make a copy of it, Amy?
What is it?
This is zoning opinion.
Sure.
So
That pertains to wetlands?
it pertains to the overall density
Okay.
of the entire project.
She'll make a copy. and give you
Exactly,
one
and I'll
back.
wait for her to come back
Yeah.
before I sign it. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else in the meantime?
Just a couple of questions while we're waiting.
Please say your name.
Roger Osmond, 273 Harwood, again. Just curious, is there an opinion, because you guys know a lot more about this than I do, why there is no vegetation to speak of, I've heard that expression several times, in that particular area?
Because of the invasives, you mean?
No, when the crossing,
meadow?
where the trees down
Oh.
across the crossing that we were stepping over.
Do we know,
Yeah, that's often a wetland layer. Like lack of vegetation is often a wetland layer, which is why we're talking about the crossing in the first place. And so if you have flow, there are instances where nothing will grow.
sure.
So it'd be
And-
like the channel bottom.
But there's also,
essentially.
soil depth and soil composition as well.
Yeah, but it's, I mean,
know
so.
Bruce is an expert in this stuff, so I'm not gonna pretend to.
It also could be just no tall vegetation, like it could be grasses or something.
Yeah, there's, yeah.
Low
Parts, but
vegetation.
Well,
it's-
we do know that there's sort of a natural, well, you know this, James, more than anybody probably. There's a natural evolution of an ecosystem like this. Classic thing is there's a fire, what's the first thing that comes back in? The blueberries. So the blueberries begin, and then you see different evolution of the tree.
I've heard about it, haven't seen a copy of
And
it
then,
yet.
some of the bigger deciduous ones are actually very late in the process, and the pines tend to be fairly late. We'll see things like birches relatively early in the evolution. I'm wondering if that's sort of reconstruction or rehabilitation of the land now that it's,
I don't think it's following that. It doesn't
Okay.
seem to me.
just,
Yeah, like pioneer species and all that. I don't think that's what's going on.
okay, I'm just curious. Thank you.
Any other questions? Do you want us to address this now? I haven't read it, so.
I will also just say, for what it's worth, the person on at 9 also has a time constraint, trying to get out here by 9:30, so.
Oh, good.
For what it's
Pretty
worth.
fast.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to try to absorb this now, since it was just submitted, or.
Yeah, it was just submitted.
Or what?
I mean, I'm inclined to read this in the CR in the same breath, and if there's something.
Did you want to
discuss.
speak to this?
Yeah, so I met with the town planner last week. And Friday I met with the zoning officer. And I had addressed this to the planning board at the beginning of the inception of Bruce's presentations to them. Back in February, when the preliminary subdivision was initially submitted, there are two plans. One was the base subdivision plan, which I'll call a proof plan for now. And that determines the density that can be used in the open space plan. Planning board at that point in time, based upon the plan that was submitted, negotiated the removal of 3 lots that were on Tehadawon. They were approval not required lots, or reduction in street frontage lots. And then the applicant got a bonus of 3 additional lots. So the original subdivision was 14 lots, and by negotiating the removal of 3 of those lots, they got 17 lots in totality, which is in front of you throughout this process. The lots have moved around, and obviously with an open space plan, they're in different locations than they were back in February. The basis for the 14 lots and then the 17 lots was on the lots meeting the zoning bylaw. I asked for a zoning opinion because I did not believe that the lots met the zoning bylaw and therefore should be disqualified. This afternoon I got that letter from the zoning officer indicating that 3 of the lots in question did not meet zoning. Therefore, they cannot be counted in the base plan or in the approved plan for the overall density. One of those is a bonus lot. So it essentially would disqualify 4 of the 17 lots that they currently have in front of the planning board and in front of you. So that's a significant change.
Which 4 lots are there? Are they relevant?
So you'd have to have the, Bruce, do you have the original plan?
5, 9.
So I see 5 numbers, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the plan's quite a bit different now, so.
So is your concern that the plan would significantly change
It would.
because the applicant
would.
needs to address whatever this issue is?
Correct. So the zoning
So
officer,
and I guess the question was just
Right.
posed, are they, if we can look at what those lots are to make sure they're within our jurisdiction
Yeah,
in terms of wetlands, because we can only comment on,
So there's
I
3 lots.
understand, but the only reason I'm bringing it to your attention is the planning board, the zoning officer, and I gave the planning board a copy of this evening, has written that 4 of the original lots that were used to count to get to where they are today in the open space plan would be disqualified.
okay.
Therefore, the overall density that would be allowed on the plan that would be approved through the planning board and obviously through you would have to reflect a deduction of 4 of the 17 lots, bringing the density down to 13.
Okay.
The reason I'm bringing that forward to you is you've been struggling with a couple of the lots that are very far out there, which at one point in time, back in February, were going to be, that land was going to be dedicated to, or a lot of that land was going to be dedicated and gifted either to the town or one of the many, Sudbury Valley trustees or something. That changed. And that changed in August to conservation restrictions, which you now have, Bruce has provided you that. If the density changes by 4 lots, maybe 2 of those lots could be the 2 lots that are out there. Instead of struggling with all of the different mechanisms that Bruce has proposed and Oxbow's proposed for replication, stream crossings, and others, that maybe they would forego a couple of those lots, and therefore the wetlands impact would be a great deal less than it is today. And 4 lots out of the density of 17 is a lot in terms of the overall. So that I'm sure there'll be some legal wrangling going on shortly about that letter. However, the fact is the zoning officer has made a decision. The decision is that 4 of the lots do not meet zoning. We are going to follow up with a second letter because we believe there are other zoning issues in that original plan which the density was based upon. We believe that the density should be more along the lines of 11 lots on this entire property as opposed to 17. So that's going to unfold over the next couple of weeks as we take another little hiatus before we get to the planning board on the 7th.
Yeah, they actually specify certain ones. They say that
there's
lot
3 lots.
5, 9, and 14 do not meet.
Right, and one of those
3.
3 is actually a lot that where the bonus was created off of. So it just qualifies 4 lots in the open space plan that you have in front of you this evening. So my only point is, as this is unfolding, it does deal with the wetlands because if in fact it affects density, I'm sure that you're going to want to negotiate to try to remove lots that are the most environmentally sensitive from the overall plan and not have to deal with some of the replications and other things that you saw when you walked up there.
I would say also that density affects the septic system that they're proposing,
Right.
which is affecting the wetlands around it.
I'm sorry, your name,
And the
please?
stormwater.
Brian Beam, 271 Harwood. So it all intermingles.
It does, and I think it's also, just big picture, it's not in the applicant's best interest to try to, get this through and close with us if there are outstanding questions. So I would anticipate if there's questions, they would be cleared up, and then we'd have, we would have something else.
The planning board's asking town council to weigh in on it. The planning board disagrees, as do I, with several of the members this evening. We all just got this evening. He just got it this evening. With the interpretation, so as he says, see how it folds out. But for the record, Mark mentioned downstairs and he mentioned up here tonight that, this land in the back was always going to be something different. It was always going to have a conservation restriction on it. That's what the requirement is under the open space regulations. It was always, an area out here of roughly 30 acres with a restriction, and that's exactly where we are right now. 30 acres, if you add in the parcel B up above, it's above that even more. So nothing has changed from that standpoint whatsoever.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
That's all right.
Because I have the first open space plan here, and I don't see a conservation restriction on this one.
Because it wasn't drawn on the plan, sir, but if you read the bylaws, it's required to have an open space restriction. It's what, a conservation restriction, rather. It's in the bylaw, it's what's required.
But it's not on the plan. I thought he just said it was on the plan.
It was in the application that it will have a conservation restriction because it's part of the open space bylaw. It's what the requirements are.
Okay.
Right? So, not to hold you up anymore, we can continue to whatever time you want.
Patty Gallagher, 307 Harwood, but I do think that details are important on plans. I mean, we have a lot of problems with the plan. There's like always, and everybody seems to just skip over, it's okay, it was a part of it, so it shouldn't have been part of the plan why wasn't it on the plan? I just don't get it.
Part of the notice, and in the notice of intent, plans can change.
Yep.
So it's our obligation as it does, and that is part of this process, is that there has to be a give and take and modification periods. But it does all circle back to the intent of the notice of intent. So that's our obligation as it fulfills the wetlands bylaw. So what planning board does, and if it all changes, and if it's a radical change, it may have to be a new notice of intent or something as well, so.
Curiosity question, is there any of the lots that could sustain themselves with their own septic system, so you could cut down on how big the big septic system is?
The big septic system totally meets Title V, just as though if there were small individual lots. So it's a system that is in accordance with the state Title V and Littleton Board of Health regulations. It's I think a better thing to have it all in one control. Each lot will have its own septic tank and then a pump chamber that pumps just the liquid on through to a settling basin, a settling tank, and then distribution through a forced pressurized system for a drip irrigation, which spreads out the effluent throughout the full large area. The standard septic system is a creeping failure. You're only hitting the first portion of the field, and your biomat builds up in one small area, and then it creeps to the next one, and the next one, and the next one over the course of time. So the system is set up to treat the effluent appropriately.
And how do you set up the deal, so do they have to start setting money aside
Yes,
from
they
day
do.
one
Yes, they
to
do.
replace the?
Yes, they do. It'll be under a condominium association for the maintenance of the system.
So are we moving to extend this to the next meeting, or are we going to wait 2 meetings? So we meet again on the 4th. And I think certainly there's going to be some type of CR, so we can keep moving forward in terms of the language, the review of the CR. Have a discussion with that and see if something changes as presented to the planning board as well.
Yep. I'd like to move forward to the 4th. If I run into issues, I'll be in touch with Amy and can move forward from there.
Okay.
There, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Bruce, I won't be until noon tomorrow, so you don't have to kill yourself getting the PDFs over.
They'll be in your inbox.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm interested in where I get a copy of this.
You get a copy.
I think
You can ask for
I
it.
think you can get I wouldn't be able to see
You
it.
have to pay $5 a page.
Yeah, I think we can.
Okay.
Thanks.
I appreciate it, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Continued discussion of potential wetland violation, 5 Scott Road.
Good to see you.
The good news is, my phone won't go off.
That's the only good news you have.
left?
Well,
Good news you can have. Thank you.
Siri assisted hearing.
well, it's a Samsung, although I did actually deal with one resident named Bixby, and when it came to the meeting and the engineer said Bixby, we found out a few people had Samsung phones in the audience. Okay, so, appreciate you guys' patience. Between me being sick off and on for a little while, which it looks like we finally got everything under control, and me trying to deal with the surveyor who has been not responding to me. It's been a little bit frustrating trying to get, a drawing done. So, I mean, so I have the updated remedial action plan. I wanted to get some
And that has
photos.
been submitted, what you're discussing right now?
The
that
original
plan?
draft was, this is the updated,
Okay, so this is so you're submitting this right now?
yes. Pull out some photos. This was an aerial from 2018, and this is an aerial from 2013. Oh. 2018, 2013. I was having trouble with the 2018 one because you can see the heavy equipment in the midst of doing the work. Talk about being caught red-handed. I showed it to him and he just looked at
Right
me.
under the bus.
Okay, so my surveyor has been non-responsive and never came through. So what I did was
Hired a new one then?
Try another one.
well, I scale drew a plan for you guys so we would at least have something to look at.
Okay, so we just have to be clear, it has to be someone who has a stamp. Okay.
But I wanted at least to have something to show you guys as to what I have in mind.
So we have a schematic that is attempted scale, but not guaranteed scale, basically.
Right.
Okay, we appreciate the efforts.
And here is, these photos go with the report that you can keep them. There's more of 2013, 2018. The 2013 one I did because it was basically taken in the fall. So there's no tree canopy cover, so you have the ability to take a look at pre-existing conditions very well. So what essentially I found based on my measurements was that the area that you see in the schematic that I drew in a circle is the area on the bottom of the road that was filled. That, I determined the fill to be about 1,425 square feet based on my own on-the-field measurements, auguring through the soils. It had an average depth of 6 inches with a maximum of 12. So you're looking at about 700 cubic feet to remove. Essentially what you have is you have an access roadway that's about 71 feet in round numbers, long, and about 8 to 10 feet in variability in width. The road has had some erosion issues because it was a dirt road, and I believe I had reviewed this before. We did go over the slope at the bottom of the road, the side slope, previously in the summer. We had an inspection to check out the trees that were growing out of the side of the slope with an arborist from Bartlett Tree Service, Matthew Shields, who is a Massachusetts and ISA certified arborist. He determined that the trees in the slope had adapted to the slope. and that they should just be left alone. So the canopy cover is going to be fine. However, the wetland on the bottom that was filled is going to have to be remediated. So the remediation plan I have in here calls for basically excavating that area out, reestablishing the wetland hydrology to connect to the, you've got, on the schematic, you see, you've got the ponded areas on both sides. You'd have to reestablish the connectivity here. And what I'm proposing is a New England wet mix by New England Wetland Plants, which is a mix that I've used quite successfully in many sites, especially sites like this one. What you have on this site, what I see in the remainder of the wetland area is a lot of aggressive wet facultative vegetation. This will add a little bit of a variety, more of a biodiversity. They're just as quick growing as the aggressive facultative material that's in there now, aggressive facultative vegetation.
Which species are you seeing that are fact and fact wet?
Nutsedge.
Oh, okay.
I'm seeing nutsedge. I'm seeing, your usual fern mix, cinnamon sensitive. Didn't see any royal fern, which kind of surprised me, but could have been varied. But essentially, I mean, this is actually a very simple fix. You have, the area needs to be excavated out. I need to be there to monitor the excavation. I would take photos of the excavated site. I would supervise the planting. I would report to you guys while the planting and the stabilization was going on a weekly basis. And then I would monitor and decrease. I could do monthly reports, and then file a comprehensive report every 6 months while the replication was establishing. The area going up to the peninsula, he did bulldoze out, but it's basically grown back in on its own. That doesn't look like an excavator that's in that picture. It looks like a dozer. It looks like you just pushed it open. The interesting thing, the 2018 photo actually doesn't show the fill on the bottom. It shows the bottom, but it looks like it was filled subsequently to this work over here.
So is the peninsula, like with the dozer, are there areas of the peninsula that need to be like pulled back that he put in, if we're talking about making people remove things that they put in that they didn't have?
Would recommend leaving it in place because it's grown back as a wetland.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just going to be basically ripping out a wetland to reestablish a wetland. It just seems kind of counterproductive.
What kind of wetland? What kind of wetland is it?
Well, it's
not the same wetland
Yeah,
as
say
it
nutsedge is not valuable.
It's a different wetland type.
I mean, I can have the area opened up and I can do the planting in that area as well. Throw in for the beggar ticks and,
I think what I think unfortunately, because, for extenuating reasons, unfortunately we don't have the survey, so we don't have like in order to have a conversation, we need to know what was it before versus what was done. Like I feel like I have a limited handle on what was done and the square footage that was impacted that would kind of enable us. Like I think you're on the right track with the direction you're going, in my opinion. But I think it's hard to have a conversation because we need to have the area of impact so that we can have better decision making and discussions about what should be done.
The disadvantage that I have is that I hadn't seen the site before it was altered.
Yeah.
So I'm basing on what I thought I saw out there based on what's growing back and based on what was left.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I get
So
that, but it needs to be on a map. I'm having a little bit of a hard time, without the before and after to the best of your ability.
So you're looking for scales,
like
in
forensics,
terms of slopes as well as like what is there. So
right, and what do we, and again, I appreciate the schematics. I appreciate the challenges you've had and the efforts you've made, and I do appreciate that we have a schematic. But I think the place where we start
I
with
appreciate
all
you saying
of
that. That means a lot to me.
all of these is what was the impact, and I feel like I have a limited handle on exactly what the impact was
in terms of volume.
In terms of volume,
how much area has been
aerial,
impacted?
And that's your forensics. So I get that, but that needs. I just feel like in order to have a
Well, I have the numbers, but I think what you're
discussion,
saying is you want something more specific
Like on a plan.
more of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That way you can look at the replication of what has been impacted. So it's hard to to guess moving forward what needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I go
Right.
down and I walk down this area and I look at this, okay, this is simple, you're gonna dig this out,
Mhm.
you have to allow this to keep growing in, you have to establish biodiversity, put this mix down.
The concepts are fine, but there has to be an attention to detail going forward.
So wasn't there, one of the reasons he put this in was so that he could put a dock out at the end of it for
Mhm.
accessing his boat? How is that situation gonna be dealt with this new plan, especially if we decide we wanna pull that fill out?
No, it's gonna have to remain as it's currently being done.
The dock.
Mhm.
We'll just have to go out to the, yeah.
Just like down south, just walk.
I'm sorry, what was all that again about the dock?
Well, the question that I was asked was, what would happen with the dock subsequent to a wetland restoration? And my response is essentially would have to stay the same as it is now.
Well, I think he was asking if he originally modified this in a certain way for a purpose, is he gonna have sufficient purpose so he won't wanna do that again, or whatever? Will he have sufficient use of this?
You just go ahead and put the dock back in. Put it along the dock tank.
Well, the dock is the challenge.
Honestly, if you're gonna
How many?
replicate that wetland, it's pretty clear cut. Use has to be lost.
Right, if we're, then we'll lose that use.
Right,
Yeah.
but we really need from you a surveyed plan. I mean, we're getting into winter, work is gonna be challenging, if not impossible, especially from, impacts to the lake with unforeseen storms, winterizing. So you get another surveyor.
That's what I'm gonna have to do.
I think we've
Hopefully,
also been drawing this out and, not doing enforcement. It's a possible violation is what we call it. We haven't done enforcement in good faith that we're working towards it. And, I believe you. I don't think you're lying to us. I'm believing you in good faith that, you're providing us the information that you can, but we got to move forward here.
No, and I appreciate that. That just means a lot.
We really got to move forward here. So find another surveyor. I know it's not easy. Contractors a lot. I know it's not easy to get on
That's the
someone's
reason why I
schedule.
don't have any of this left.
But I think you need to start providing Amy with updates on like when you get a surveyor, so we know.
I can do that.
Because we are
You guys can
working
keep
with
me
you in
tied.
good faith and not doing enforcement, because enforcement puts more timeline on it, and I don't think that's necessary. You're obviously working towards a goal, but
Now, when we do finalize an action and resolve it, are you going to consider it as an enforcement, or?
no, we've worked with others. It's still potential. We've worked with
The
others.
challenge that you're under, however, is that.
Basically, do you want a notice of intent?
Yes.
Or should you issue an enforcement order to do this?
If the process is stopping and starting, we're at a point where the seasonal changes and nothing's been done, then I think you are looking at enforcement. So I think you just have to keep this ball rolling.
Because this started in May of 2018.
Which is kind of
Well,
unprecedented, actually, to not do an enforcement.
I actually wasn't on since 2018. I just
Right.
started this
Right,
summer.
no, I remember
so.
that. I knew you weren't on since then.
Rough summer, let me tell you.
I think you need to have an action plan of, if it's not done by, whether it's next meeting or after then, just to be clear what we have with others, that enforcement starts as of whatever day you all choose. I think that's the guidance that you best use this evening.
I think that maybe by the next meeting. Because that will give us time to start the plan, or actually conduct the work.
Ready for winter.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to do it this year.
I don't know if you can get a surveyor on board and surveyed and done by next meeting.
No, just surveyed,
No.
not the whole
Not
work
the whole
plan.
plan. No, of course not the work.
That's
But
another
even
need.
just getting a
That's
plan.
yours.
So we meet again on the 4th. The commissioners are telling us that you need to have your survey done by then.
Hopefully I can push and maybe even get a plan in.
Okay. And it's best to submit things ahead of time and also electronically, so not to bring them in the night of the meeting. The commissioners. Okay, we'll put you on for the 4th.
My mom's birthday.
Alrighty.
Okay.
She'll
Thank
be
you.
90. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you. Good night.
You got anything else, Amy?
Just on another enforcement order at 86 Colonial Drive, they just provided the end of the first year monitoring report. It's looking on track, so keep up with that.
How about more land? I see that, is that pretty much done too?
Yeah, I haven't heard from them yet.
You said you looked at the trees at Middlesex? Did you stop down there?
That one out of my head. I did go down there and look at it. Kyle and I were going to meet up the next day, and then he couldn't make it. And I forgot to follow back up again with him.
Okay.
He said that had been all lawn and just grown back, and I point out to him, well, there's some
No, there's trees down.
out
They
there.
removed trees.
Yeah,
And they
there's
were
some
supposed
trees
to
down.
remove 0 trees.
Put that down as a discussion for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just down there a lot. I know like several people on that road, so I drove by and was like, it doesn't look great. That's trees.
Okay. I move that we close the hearing at 9:32.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Wow.
That was a unanimous.
So can I
aye.
ask now when you start?
Those donuts are courtesy of MACC. I basically won it for being old.